in the wilderness, far from the cities of men, where all is dust, heat, and silence. God speaks to Moses, not to build a palace, not to construct a golden tower, but a tent, tabernacle. But this was no ordinary tent. This was the dwelling place of the Most High, the place where the Invisible One would come to live among his people. He who made the heavens requested a tabernacle, a traveling tent to journey with his chosen ones. "Make me an altar," the Lord said, "of acacia wood and bronze, square in shape, with horns on the corners." Why horns? Not bronze and not gold? Because this altar was a place of death, a place where blood would be poured out, a place where sin would be confessed, judged and covered by mercy. Upon that brazen altar, the fire never died. The sacrifice burned day and night. A bronze grate was set in its center like an eye staring into the heart of human guilt. Below it, taches of former sins. Above it, the smoke of atonement. All of it, was a picture, a shadow, a prophecy. The altar was Christ, who became the willing sacrifice, the fire his suffering. The horns refuge for the guilty pursued by justice, and then the tabernacle, covered in layers of fine linen, dyed blue, purple, and scarlet, and over it skins of rams and badgers, rough and uninviting on the outside, but inside glory, beauty, light, just like Christ. Outwardly nothing desirable, despised, but within the fullness of God. He who seeks to see God's face does not judge by appearances. He must enter. Beyond the veil, there behind the veil, the most holy place, the throne room of the invisible God. There stood the ark, the mercy seat, the place where the Lord would speak not in wrath, but in mercy. But the valet kept everyone out. Only the high priest could enter once a year, until the moment Christ died. The veil was torn in two from top to bottom. The way to God was opened. The blood had been shed. The sacrifice had been accepted. Each evening, Aaron and his sons would refill the golden lampstand with pure olive oil. The flame was never to go out. Why? Because the house of God is never in darkness. Because the word is a lamp for our feet. Because the grace of God burns eternally. Today, you don't have to wander through the desert. You don't need to bring a lamb to a bronze altar, because the Alpha and Omega has become your tabernacle, your sacrifice, your priest, and your light. He is present wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in his name. He is near to the heart that cries out for mercy. He is the one through whom the veil is torn, and the Holy of Holies is opened. Are you standing outside the veil, or have you entered in? Are you content with the outer court, or will you draw near to the altar of grace? Call upon the one who is altar, tabernacle, and everlasting light, Christ, our eternal sacrifice and glory. Share this video. Let the light spread, for the fire of God's mercy must never be extinguished.
Before us unfolds one of the most important works in the history of the Israelite people: the preparation and setting up of the holy place where God would meet his people. In the year 1491 BC, in the wilderness, with precision and a sense of holiness, God sealed a new and special covenant with his children, and a holy work began that was to resound with his blessing, love, and presence. 1. The altar of sweet incense, the air, filled with prayers and holiness. Imagine the altar of acacia wood overlaid with pure gold, with horns on its 4 corners, about 8 inches high, small yet infinitely significant. This is not just an object. It is a symbol of the deepest connection, the place where prayers and sacrifices become fragrant offerings to heaven. Every morning and evening, Aaron would burn sweet incense, the prayers of the people rising like smoke toward God, a sign that his presence was desired, welcomed, and honored There was no place for any other aroma or offering, only what God had commanded. This was not merely an order, but a mark of devotion and purity of heart. At the end of the year, the altar was cleansed with the blood of a sin offering, to be ready to receive new prayers and blessings. 2. Gifts from heaven. Bezalel and Oholiab, masters of the holy, but none of these testimonies would have existed without the gifts of the two chosen by God. Bezalel and Oholiab, God called them by name and filled them with His Spirit, with wisdom and knowledge to perform the highest quality work in gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood. Bezalel from the tribe of Judah and Oholiab from the tribe of Dan had no technical training from Egypt, yet God's power mastered their hearts and hands. Without envy or selfish ambition, but only in service to God and His people. These two masters were called to raise the lampstand of faith and presence, just as God calls and equips them for the work. So today, it reminds us that what is sacred is not achieved by human strength alone, but by His grace and gifts. 3. The Holy Sabbath, the day of rest. A sign of God's holiness at the center of the people's life stands the command to observe the Sabbath, the day of holiness, the day when no work is done, a day dedicated to God and His holiness. This command echoes even now as a call to rest, renewal, and spiritual healing. God sealed the Sabbath as a sign of His favor and a covenant between Him and His people. No distinction between rich and poor, no exceptions. Sabbath must be a weekly reminder of creation and rest given by God. Breaking the Sabbath brought severe consequences, being cut off from the people, showing that holiness and unity with God admit no compromise. But this is a call not to fear, but to devotion and love toward the One who gave us life. Why should we cherish these teachings and embrace them today? Because prayer is the unceasing, holy lamp of our soul, connecting us to God's throne, and it must be pure and undefiled. So must our prayers be offered with love and faithfulness, because God not only listens to the voice of the whole world, but empowers and gifts those who are dedicated to His service. Gifts are not a personal achievement, but a divine gift. There is no competition or envy, only service. Because the Sabbath is not just a day without work, but a day of rest from worldly life, a sign of our unity with God, a remembrance of His creation, and a gift of new life and grace. High upon the radiant heights of Mount Sinai, veiled in cloud and glory, Moses stood in the presence of the Most High. In his hands were 2 tablets not crafted by man, but written by the very finger of God. The law of life, the covenant of eternity. But down below, at the foot of the mountain, the people who had been delivered from Egypt, witnesses of the parted sea, fed with manna from heaven, demanded a different God, a God made with their own hands, a golden calf in exchange for the living God. Moses descended. Step by step, he carried holiness into the camp. But the sound that greeted him was not a song of gratitude. It was chaos, dancing, shouting, singing around an idol, sin, betrayal, shame, and the anger of the servant of God blazed, not for himself, but for the glory of the Almighty. He shattered the tablets of the covenant, not out of weakness, but as a witness that the covenant had been broken before it was even sealed. Holiness cannot dwell among idols. He took the golden calf, burned it, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the people drink it. Water mixed with shame became a symbol of the poison of their unfaithfulness. Thus, they tasted what it means to bow to a God that is no God at all. Then came the moment of truth. "Who is on the Lord's side?" cried Moses. Not politics, not tribe. One question only: God's side door against him. With swords at their side, they marched through the camp. Brothers, friends, neighbors, 3,000 fell that day. Justice had to speak. The covenant had to be confirmed. Sin had to be judged and recorded that God's people do not tolerate idols among them. But Moses didn't stop there. The next morning, he ascended the mountain once more, not to receive new laws, but to intercede. With a heavy heart and trembling lips, he pleaded, "O Lord, this people has committed a great sin. But if you would forgive them, do it. But if not, blot me, I pray you, out of the book you have written." This was no dramatic gesture. It was sacrifice. A pure heart, moved by love, stood before the throne and begged for mercy on a people who did not deserve it. And God heard. He did not cast Israel away. Yet he did not forget the sin. It would be remembered and paid for, step by step, with suffering, rebellion, and ultimately with the coming of a Savior. The lesson for us, even today, the shine of idols seduces us. Even today, God calls out, "Who is on my side?" And today, the sword is no longer in hand, but the cross is on the shoulder, and the choice is just as dramatic. Don't stay in the middle. You are either his or lost. But know this: there is one who didn't just say, "Blot me out." He gave his life so that your name could be written forever in his book. God does not forgive because he forgets sin. God forgives because someone else paid the price. A call to you. Imagine how much holiness, gifts, and love are woven into these sacred instructions. Your life, too, should be a sanctuary for God. Let us offer the best of ourselves, pure hearts, devoted prayer, talents with skill for His glory. Start today to live as called by these holy commands. Guard your altar of prayer. Nurture your gifts as God's gifts, and dedicate one day a week for renewal and rest. Your Sabbath, your holiness,